It is clear, if you want to sum up his evolution on LGBT rights, Mitt gets worse is a very accurate phrase. Well, it's kind of hard to accuse Mitt Romney of misrepresenting his positions because he clearly doesn't have any. Mitt Romney appears to be a man motivated by the view that if people put him in charge of things, everything would go well. There was not an issue of public policy except that rich people shouldn't pay much in taxes, on which he's shown any consistency. But particularly on LGBT rights, he's been especially inconsistent. He emerges on the scene in 1994 with no prior public record and announces, improbably, we thought at the time, in his effort to defeat Senator Kennedy, who was a great champion of our issues, that he would be better on LGBT rights than Ted Kennedy. He didn't talk about the specific issues, but he said he would be a better supporter of LGBT rights than Ted Kennedy. That turns out, of course, to have been a lie. What he meant was, look, I think I get some votes by this pretension, and that's as far as it went. He has never been in favor of any legislation or executive order that would advance our rights. Zero. None. I wrote to him because I was the main sponsor of the Employment Non-Discrimination Act that would ban employment discrimination based on sexual orientation. We were able to, after some struggle, I had transgender, and he ignored me. In other words, I said to him, Governor, you said you were going to be better on LGBT rights than Ted Kennedy. Here's a basic right. It's a question of non-discrimination employment, presumably less controversial than marriage. And he wouldn't answer. He didn't respond. He ignored it. What led me to compare Mitt Romney to Governor George Wallace of Alabama was his willingness to demagogue for political purposes. By the way, I'm not sure that George Wallace really hated black people, and I don't know that Mitt Romney really doesn't dislike lesbian and gay people. They were both consumed by ambition and willing to trash minority groups and appeal to prejudice against them for political advancement. In Romney's case, once the marriage decision was there, I think he saw this as a chance to be a leader, Massachusetts having been the first state to allow same-sex marriage. So what he did was to put all of his political energies, beginning in 2004 in January, only months after the decision, late 2003, into trying to defeat state legislators who were not opposing same-sex marriage. He singled out particularly some women, and frankly, particularly some Roman Catholic women, and tried to defeat them on the grounds that they were not opposing same-sex marriage. And it was a very vigorous campaign. Of all the time he was in Massachusetts, I saw more energy out of him than any time until the health care bill, which he, of course, now repudiates. And that was what I thought like Governor Wallace. Not necessarily a particular strong feeling of his, but a willingness to appeal to prejudice to enhance his national political ambitions. Oh, it would be a serious setback. First of all, he might very well reinstitute Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Remember, Don't Ask, Don't Tell was imposed by statute. We rescinded the statute that imposed it, but a president could probably do it again. He would certainly appoint justices of the Scalia sort, Justice Scalia, who was just homophobic. You read his opinions. And much of our progress comes through the courts. Mitt Romney being elected means that the Supreme Court will be, for the indefinite future, shut to us. He's in favor of a constitutional amendment that would not only prevent future marriages, people need to understand this, the constitutional amendment that Paul Ryan has voted for several times, their bright young hope, and that Romney supports, would not only prevent future same-sex marriages, it would invalidate the current ones. And people say, well, that's unconstitutional. But it's a constitutional amendment they're proposing, and a constitutional amendment by definition can't be unconstitutional. What's very clear, looking at Mitt Romney, is that on LGBT issues, he has gotten worse, and the prognosis would be that he'd get even I don't know, more worser. I'll get into trouble with my old English teacher. This is a man who has no principles, obviously, on this subject. And how do you go from saying I'll be a better advocate than Ted Kennedy to not even endorsing an anti-discrimination in employment law? But yeah, he will get as bad as he has to be for political advantage. It is clear he attaches no independent value to our rights and our issues. He will trade them off. And while I hope the Republican Party will emerge from this right-wing death grip from which it now suffers, I don't see that happening right away. And so the prognosis is that he will get worse.